Dennis Nedry is the unsung hero of Jurassic Park. He's the man responsible for essentially the progression of the entire franchise, and as it happened, he saved potentially thousands upon thousands of lives. To establish how, we have to backtrack a little bit and come to the conclusion that Jurassic Park was doomed to fail from the beginning, regardless of whether Dennis Nedry intervened. There are, however, many reasons to believe that is the case. Hammond and InGen were not only trying something that had never been done before with the dinosaurs, but they were doing so with how the park was automated. Hammond is very proud of how automated his park is. The fact that such an incredibly complex park could be run by what was essentially a single IT technician, a surly one with money problems and a poor attitude at that, was of course a huge achievement, and it was indicative of the role computers were beginning to play in daily life at that point. But it was also, as it turned out, a pretty damn big oversight. Not having a single failsafe in place that could prevent trouble if Nedry were to go off the deep end, get the flu, or yes, as it happens, be eaten by a Dilophosaurus, seems incredibly short-sighted and indicative of too much faith in what was still at the time a very burgeoning technology. One simple malfunction and your guests could be stranded in the middle of nowhere, perhaps kept safe by the backup generators electrifying the fences, but still, there's a reason Disneyland has so many staff members, and as Malcolm says, at least the Pirates of the Caribbean don't try to eat your guests. Speaking of Ian Malcolm, the way in which he talks about Jurassic Park makes it sound as though Nedry is essentially irrelevant. In the novel, he mentions a principle named, so humbly after himself, the Malcolm effect. This is essentially a computer model that suggests that entities with inherent instability, be they living or otherwise, will at some point experience significant chaos and sudden collapse, just as the drop of water runs off Sattler's hand as it reaches the end. Now, in the novel, Arnold vehemently disagrees with this idea and considers that it doesn't apply to living creatures as, well, we are all inherently unstable. Our temperatures fluctuate, our hormones fluctuate, our stomach acid levels, blah blah blah. There's a billion little systems in the human body that fluctuate without that sudden collapse. But what Arnold missed was that whilst the Malcolm effect may not apply to the individual dinosaurs, it certainly applied to the park itself. A mechanical entity where just small little effects, the storm, the switching off the electricity, the glow of the car lamps attracting the wrecks, they led to a catastrophic system failure. Given how the novel ends for Arnold, and in the films, he would probably have agreed by the end. Oops. Thirdly, well, even if Nedry didn't do anything, even if Nedry stayed and worked at his filthy desk with his scantily clad screensaver, disaster would have struck thanks to one simple factor: the raptor eggs. And this is really the key point for the whole video, because even if the park was technically sound and had great staff and Malcolm was just some spooky guy who for some bloody reason wears leather in Costa Rica, there were raptors loose in the park from the get-go. It's never really explained in the film how this happened. Of course, we know that the raptors were capable of changing their sex thanks to the frog DNA, but how did they get out in the first place? It seems unlikely they'd break out and then lay their eggs instantly in an unfamiliar location. So for the answer, we go to the novel once more. Not only does Tim spot a raptor at one point early on to the tour, but later on, as the system is crumbling and they're realising there's many more dinosaurs than they expected, they become aware that, well, nobody is watching the raptor paddock at night. And oh boy, these raptors are night owls. They were breaking out under cover of darkness and nesting around the park, spreading and multiplying whilst nobody had a clue. Maybe if the park had some more staff, they'd have actually seen it, but there are some things you can't trust a webcam for, folks. It's quite a few things actually. So what you've got is a park filled with unstable creatures founded on unstable technology being monitored by barely anybody that already has raptors breeding and living in the wild. That is without Nedry lifting a single finger. Nedry, of course, does lift a finger, several in fact, and ends up causing the downfall of Jurassic Park himself. But if he hadn't interfered, there's a good chance the tour would have gone without a hitch. It would have been a little bit boring, admittedly, since it seems none of the dinosaurs were actually turning up, as Malcolm delighted in pointing out, and eventually Jurassic Park would have opened up to the public. And that's when you get expansion. The park gets bigger and bigger. It expands out into the wilds. There's screaming children, there's weary parents, there's gaggle upon gaggle of tourists exploring this beautiful island and experiencing the fully developed park just as we saw in Jurassic World. Lovely. But wait, there's raptors out there in the wilderness, raptors without a natural food source given that the other dinosaurs are all contained. Raptors that have been given the time to bond and form hunting packs. Really, really hungry raptors. You've essentially just helicoptered and ferried a buffet onto your island, and now instead of a handful of VIP guests being eaten as in the first film, you have a full-on massacre on your hands. Imagine Jurassic World's Main Street scene, but with raptors instead of pterosaurs. Okay, that would have been significantly cooler as it happens, but damn, it would have been bloody. Packs would be streaming in from the sides and feasting on defenseless tourists. The guards, limited that they were in number thanks to the reliance on computers, almost as useless as the guests as they are picked off. Hammond retreats back into his home, watching his cash cows being slaughtered left and right. Blood lines the tracks of Jurassic Park, and the dream is not only shattered, but he either doesn't make it out alive, or he probably goes to jail for the rest of his short life. Dennis Nedry acted with an impulse for money and nothing more. But without his intervention, Jurassic Park may have made it live, and the loss of life would have been astronomically greater. No matter what happened, this was a park doomed to fail. Ian Malcolm was right, and he was proven right, as what happened in Jurassic World is essentially what would have happened to Jurassic Park if the tour had gone successfully. It was doomed to fail then, it was doomed to fail now. Man creates dinosaurs, dinosaurs eat man. Hey guys and girls, thanks for watching. YouTube has been my full-time job for years now, but the adpocalypse and YouTube's frustrating new monetization system are making it tougher to survive and keep all of my organs. If you want to help keep the channel alive, consider throwing a little pledge at my Patreon page. It's not at all expected, and by just watching this video you've really helped me out. But if you feel like giving a little bit more, or you happen to be a Russian oligarch billionaire and want to support me, you can do so right there. Cheers.